Welcome back to Tarot Journeys with Guy. How's everybody doing out there? Now we've seen yet again a lot come out. A lot of evidence has come out with the attempted assassination with President Trump. And it's so apparent how there was a stand down and different narratives coming out. Quite a bit more came out with the so-called shooter, his social media. A lot of evidence about how the Secret Service had stepped down. So now if that doesn't tell people that there's some kind of inside situation against President Trump and against the American government, and against basically the nation states of the Western world, you're missing, I guess, the point. It's very plainly obvious to many of us. So yeah, that's been coming out in force. I mean, we had Christopher Wray, the FBI director, in front of Congress, and he is such a deep state shill. It's unbelievable. Yeah, some of the stuff that he was talking about, I mean, it's with these people, you have to read between the lines all the time, right? What else came out there? Joe Biden, they carted out Joe Biden, the cutout of Joe Biden. I mean, he addressed the nation in a very strange looking video. And instantly people online just went off. One of the things that he said in there was about defending democracy. And this is what we've been seeing is these guys, these deep state globalists, gaslighting the populace and basically telling the people what they are and what they are doing. Unbelievable, right? Like, this is the guy that is endangering democracy, or he is the face of it. Now, I think the thing that people have to understand is that it's not Biden doing this, right? It's the people behind Biden. There's people there that are doing this. He's just the face of things, right? And that's kind of obvious because where is he really? Did they, and I was picking up that he's, it's kind of this thing that they do is they cut deals, whether they've, taken care of him and haven't told people, I have no idea. It wouldn't be surprising if he didn't make the rest of his presidency, like that he passed away or something, right? Like, this is kind of typical. And then putting the deep state stooge Kamala Harris, the laughing puppet, she's a complete totalitarian, and just, police state crazy and all of this thing, right? And just, it's not going to work. And I guess, and this is what people are saying, is they're waiting for the VP. Who are they going to call? And it's just steps that they're playing out, right? And it's a very dangerous game. This is why people are a little bit alarmed. And then the Prime Minister of Israel was in front of Congress. And then I think today he was with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And so, yeah, take that for what that is. This is part of that shadow war come to the surface, okay? This guy, the PM of Israel, is just complete deep state. And some of the things like, calling for war with Iran, and this is kind of what we were talking about. This is what they're trying to drum up, these guys, right? And so, and this is where I hope the Trump team and these people, they see through this and they kind of get to the heart of it. And this is what Trump says, he's going to stop these wars, okay? So we'll see. So that's one thing. The Paris Olympics start, and I guess they would probably start when this video comes out, which will be on Saturday, my time in North America. I'm shooting this Friday night. So yeah, today was the opening ceremonies for the Summer Olympics, and wow, unbelievable. The most woke Olympics ever, and wow, the globalist agenda being presented right for the public, for the world stage, and an open attack on Christianity with all of the symbology that's there, and just a complete inversion of the core of the Western world, okay? And just bizarre. And people are, same as every other opening ceremonies, it's just been, wow. People will notice and will be alarmed and all of that, right? So yeah, the Olympics and the world stage, it's just kind of like the perfect sort of opportunity for some kind of incident, okay? Like it's prime. They've got the, instantly the protests start, the Palestinian protest. Same thing like when Netanyahu was at Congress outside of the bill, like they were huge protests, It's by design. It's totally by design. It's part of the machination of this globalist play that right to the bitter end, they're going to keep pushing, okay? Another thing too, unfortunately, up here in Alberta, in Canada, a really nice place called Jasper, the federal park, very beautiful place, burnt due to a wildfire. And now we've been having these wildfires, terrible wildfires in Western Canada, all over the world, for about 7 years now. And instantly it's this dialogue from the, establishment media, the leftist media, climate crisis, right? And that was the other thing that Biden also talked about, was this climate crisis, climate lie that they're trying to push people into. And blaming it on, blaming this disaster, kind of like the Hawaii fires, blaming that on a climate crisis initially, right? And it's really has a lot to do with incompetence and policy, and a certain segment of those policymakers and those people that push it knowingly. See, what's on the back end of it is people like BlackRock and stuff. With Canada, though, it's this federal system, the federal park system, which is in the States as well, right? But there's a lot of land owned by the federal government, right? And this is where they kind of push this agenda, and rest assured, and it will come out, and more and more, it's going to come out that is one of the biggest lies that they have been trying to perpetuate. And is it going to take a crashing of the system and the economy for people to actually fully figure that one out? No, I don't know. I don't think so. This is what we're sort of aiming for, because yeah, it's very positive, like the positive swing of things, is there. People are really sort of, it's exciting times, man. You go and talk to people and it's happening, and it's happening all over the world, right? And people do want to see things shift. So, and that's a big part of it. Okay. So yeah, like this deep state thing, right? And what they're doing with Kamala, this non-appointed, pushing this person into the nomination without her being appointed, and this is what people have to call out, and it's just like another part of their play, right? And so it's like such a perfect sort of storm, you create like a disaster, a war, and then install your person, or suspend an election after the 25th Amendment has been passed, that Joe Biden is no longer competent. And that's kind of what's sort of, I think, maybe part of their game plan. And I think they've kind of had that in their back pocket the whole time. I don't know if it's going to work though, right? Anyway, so here we are, more readings. And I thought, yeah, we got to keep on this, but it's also good to sort of like check in spiritually, cool because we're in a bit of a cooling phase. So much has happened, and then get a little breather, So yeah, we got to check in. What do we need to know? I always ask that. What do we need to know? What does Source need to show us? How do we navigate these waters better, right? And what do we need to pay attention to? And often it comes up in ways that I never expect. That's part of it. But then asking specific questions, it's so funny. I don't even really want to, I haven't really asked, like, is the deep state, in this shooter thing? And it's like, I don't even need to ask. Like, yes. Like, hello. Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff too. I mean, the 8 shell casings found on the roofs. Meanwhile, same thing, while this is being shown, they're talking about this office setup where the Secret Service a sniper team was set up, and they stood down. One of them went for a break during all of this. And, it's a lot like JFK. It really is. It's a lot like JFK in the sense that they're really throwing people's attention around. And when you start to get to the heart of some of the issues that are sort of there, some of the questions, it just is ridiculous. It's very obvious. And now when you look into the JFK assassination, especially in hindsight, it is so obvious that our very own government did that. The intelligence community had their hand in that, right? It's very obvious, and that it was made up stories to cover up the actual story, right? And so what they're trying to do, I think, is cover up the fact that I don't know if that guy shot President Trump, right? I think that was the other shooter, and there was probably another shooter, and it probably came from very close to him because it is to disguise the shot, right? But I don't know. That's me speculating. Let's just start off. What do we need to hear? What's going to help us navigate, and what's going to help us ground? But what kind of guidance do we need to hear, and what's going to help us right now? And here we go. Right in the center, right in the present situation, is the King of Cups reversed. Now, the King of Cups is a card of trust in a lot of ways. I mean, this is a wise counselor. And when it's reversed, this is somebody that can't be trusted. This is somebody who's actively lying to you. And this has been part of the plan. This is what we have to remember, we asked for guidance. Okay, what do we need? What's going to help us right now? And so part of that plan, part of what they've been implementing is like stirring up the psychic emotional field of society and just creating distrust, creating anxiety, creating a situation where you cannot trust anything. You can't trust your eyes. You can't trust what anybody is telling you. But you see, though, we've got 2 cards here that really refer to the death of this process. Okay. And that's what we got to remind ourselves. It is us that are on the sort of front line of the awakening process. All of us, right? That are there, opening our eyes, opening our hearts, and witnessing and activating. That's what's ending it, right? And exposing these guys, exposing them, communicating, expressing. So it's like right now, it's really important to be posting and sharing information. And when you find something, share it. Doesn't even matter if a few people get it, right? They need to be exposed. Joe Biden needs to be exposed. The people behind Joe Biden, the people behind these main figures that we are supposed to have trust in, they need to be exposed, right? But right now they really do, because on the other end of it, they're trying to counter information. So it's like we're countering the counter intel, right? The intel, it's like weaponized information, weaponized disinformation sometimes, but weaponized to affect us, to stir us, to steer us, right? So that's, got to remind ourselves of that. And that's what's ending. And it's funny, for us that have been sort of on this for a while and watching these guys, it's so funny, them trying to push Kamala, right? Kamala Harris, come on. We all know nobody likes her, right? And they know this. This is why they pushed her through, right? So, and like by calling them out, right? So the other thing is like not feeding into the war, the war panic. A lot of it is pulling on people's fear, right? So, and that's the thing. It's like we can prevent it by being sort of vocal and by and the intention of the energy. Yeah, it's so funny, the posting, right? Being wary of where the information is coming from too, because they're purposely putting out weird information. They don't want you to know what's going on with him. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he passed away a long time ago, actually. like man, they have been like, it's crazy what they've been doing. Okay. I'm talking about Joe Biden, right? I don't know, I see, because we were talking about him, but this is kind of symbolic, this energy of distrust and lying and putting on the face, it's so present everywhere with every politician, every person that's sort of in a public way, sort of. There are people there that aren't, but how do we determine that? And so like spiritually, like this card does teach us to connect with our own inner intuition. Especially if we're like asking for guidance and like you're asking for like a real life scenario and this card pops up, it's saying, don't seek guidance from other people, seek guidance from yourself. You're going to be deceived, right? So right now it's really important to get in touch with that and to, like you see something weird going on, whether it's online or, on like in real life, ask what's going on. Like ask the intuition, right? Follow your intuition, man. Your intuition says, go. Got to really listen to it right now. Yeah, people don't know what to make of Trump too sometimes. That's the other thing too. And it's like, you got to realize like Trump is really he really is trying to unify situations. He's trying to get some of these people onto his side. Yes, he's not perfect, okay? But I think that's what we see with Netanyahu. And I think that you see it with a whole bunch of different players. Yeah, this thing of the war, like, man, they were talking in Britain, in the UK, be prepared for a large war in 3 years. Now, wait a second, I thought last month it was like, oh my God, there's going to be a war, you better know where the bunker is, right? This is kind of what we've been sort of uncovering, is that these guys, these war hawks, the part of the globalist uniparty types want forever war. They want and this is part of their continuity of government scenario of pushing a scenario through into the next administration in the United States. Okay. Yeah. Twisting perceptions, right? Making things look terrible when they're not, and making, like back and forth, like trying to get the main populace to believe that things aren't in an upward swing right now, because they kind of are, right? And it has a lot to do with people's sort of resiliency, right? This is something that people have to keep in mind. And just kind of like, don't get thrown off by this mixing up of the pot. Carry through with your plans. Plan for the future. Yeah, okay, maybe it's not the long-term future, but we can have these plans, right? That's what this is saying. Yeah, there's a certain part of people that definitely are cut off from their spiritual core, right? But that's part of that active sort of operation, is to kind of keep people at each other and very cut off from spiritual source, from their guidance, and always at odds with self. Okay. And that's part of these, like psychically, that's part of these operations. Yeah. On the back end of it, there's a lot of hope actually now. There's like a hopeful vibe. There's action being taken, and there's a hope that things are going to actually really improve. And it does have a lot to do with the Trump team and the shift in the world, how people are kind of cluing in. Okay. Like on higher levels where they're going, wait a second, this is not, this globalist agenda of like a great reset, a fourth industrial revolution, deindustrialization of our modern civilization, putting us into a feudal state, depopulation, So that's kind of part of it, is just being more grounded and being more attentive to the stirring of the pot. Let's see what President Trump's up to. How safe is he? What's next in the next couple of days? Okay. Two of Cups, which is a love card, right? But this is definitely, like I mentioned President Trump, right? This is making deals. So you remember from the last spread, we got that 10. So the 10 is like a completion of a cycle. Like this is the end of an old and beginning of new. But the thing is, because it's reversed, it's sort of like what he's looking at is this like continuation of this freaking pattern that was around when he was a kid. Okay. And yeah, the Hangman, he's trying to figure out really like who can he cut a deal with and who can he not. And he's definitely thinking in terms of the economy when he is connecting and meeting with world leaders right now, because he knows that what he inherits in 6-7 months time is a failing economy. He knows it. He knows that's part of that plan, that they're going to thrust a very terrible economic state onto him, that they've put the populace in and the government and right. And so he knows this, and really he's making plans now. There's a lot of things that he's got a lot of plans, but he's cutting deals, right? He wants growth. He wants global growth, and he wants to wreck their plans, right? Like he wants to get rid of this globalist, smart planet, smart city, techno feudalist system with the digital currency and all of that. Yeah, he's actively trying to take it apart, and he's addressing it by trying to cut deals with some of these world leaders, right? And it's very important. He knows that Netanyahu is deep state. He knows, man. He knows now. How could he not, right? And it's not only that. It's like the intelligence communities operate in each other's spheres. So he knows that what he's doing is letting the enemy in some ways. See, what they're saying in the news, right? It has a lot to do with getting hostages out, okay? But there's a bigger plan here. There's a bigger picture that these guys are all operating off. And Trump's trying to kind of take it apart little pebble by pebble in their minds. Trump always equates to how is it going to affect the people? He always goes to that. Yeah, it's so funny. It's like the Trump team has already initiated their game plan. They're already acting as though they're in, right? I think what they're trying to do is actually they're going to try to push Joe Biden out legally and try to put Kamala in as president until January. Whether they can steal the election or not, or whether they win it or not, it doesn't matter. In that way, they can implement some of this stuff, right? They've got something up their sleeve, man. They want to trigger a war. I know that they want to trigger a war. This is kind of a warring card too, right? But, things are kind of moving in a good direction where, like, something might happen where they have to stop her in its tracks or something. I don't know. This is only in the next couple of days, so keep in mind, right? Yeah, we got to keep with that vibe, this Ace of Wands, right? Hand of God. The vibe, the energy, the inspiration of that, like that impulse, right? And it's the really exciting times, we got to keep rolling with that. Got to keep rolling with that and not let this overwhelm us and get us confused. And, because like I was saying, the pot's being stirred, and these guys, yeah, they're going to keep stirring it. And it's so funny, the more that they get caught, the more things kind of calm down and everything chills out. So, right, keep your eyes peeled, and keep your heart steady. And like I was saying before, the prayers help a lot, and the intentions and the meditations. Okay, so let's close this off with a little bit more. I didn't talk too much about the Olympics, the opening ceremonies. That was like crazy, using all of this Christian symbology. The pale horse riding over the water in this kind of metallic, transhumanist, robotic looking form, and the horse was, styled in the same way, and it's Book of Revelation and the harbinger of death and destruction. And then the twisted, inverted Last Supper, right? And just like right in the open with these people, okay? And just, to me, right, like it's a little bit, like it's like the Weimar Republic all over again, but on a global level, like hyped up, Anyway, that was something else, and we'll see what else happens with the Olympics there. But yeah, let's just close this off. Let's see what else we need to hear. What kind of guidance, what's going to help us. Yeah, let's just see. Oh, wow. Like all these major arcana cards here, right? So the star card comes up in the central part. This is like the hope. This is like the new hope. This is the revitalization of the spirit. This is after the whole progression of, like, she has gone through like the complete regeneration of her entire form, right? And has come out reborn in many ways, right? And it has a lot to do with the sort of melding of the worlds and bringing things into harmony, right? It's a very interesting card. I love this card, actually. Lots of symbology in there, but yet it's sort of a sign to us to not, like, I just talked about the Olympics, right? Like, and just how dark, like the symbology there and everything was so dark, and like faceless characters and things like this. This is a part of a design, like, and everything twisted and inverted, partly in a design to right, it's like to throw us off, to put us into that dark frame, whereas the true light of spirit, of source, comes from us in many ways. It, not just us, but we shine in that light. That light shines from us when we are fully connected and fully not taken. And that's what we have to kind of keep in mind, right? Like that we can offset some of this, like all this dark imagery, like at that Olympics, right? We can offset that. Like, I mean, we don't even need to watch it. I barely watched any of it. I just saw like images and stuff and a few things online as I was getting ready to shoot and stuff. Yeah, it's just like we can't get thrown off too much, right? And they want, see, like that, those shows and that ceremony and all of that, and like what we talked about in the reading tonight too, it's like all of the stuff with the politics and the political theater and the staged events and these weird opening ceremonies. What they're trying to do is put humanity through a ritual. They are putting us through a ritual. It is an initiation of sorts, okay? But the thing is, it's sort of like, mind tricks. They don't work on the strong-willed and the strong-minded and the open-hearted. It just doesn't work, right? Like it gets thrown off. And so the spiritual knowledge that many of us have been equipped with, just sort of, I guess, in the way that we carry ourselves in our everyday world, that's what they're trying to throw most of us off of in so many ways, right? And so, yeah, we got to keep that in mind, right? Like this whole reading has been sort of like a reminder and a check-in of like, wait a second, yeah, they're stirring the pot, but do we want to like jump in and stir the pot with them? No, that's right. And so, and like this, the high priestess is definitely this card of stillness, right? Like she doesn't allow her emotional field to get pulled, right? But she's got a lot, like she's really well equipped, right? It's a passage that all of humanity has to make. And so the power structure, right? They're really trying, like those that think, you know, like this idea of the establishment and like what the Hierophant really talks about, like what these, like the globalists, what they're trying to do is replace God with the state or with their image of such, right? And they want us to kind of fill in the blanks, right? That's kind of part of that engineering, right? That social engineering part of it, right? Our personal connection with the divine, with God is most important. That is where things run amok for them spiritually. Obviously, it's so obvious, right? I mean, a big part of it, like a lot of what they're attempting to do, the wording, a lot of it is like legal in the wording. And so they're trying to subtly alter perception through that kind of thing, right? And so, and it's just to be aware, right? Like, yeah, it's like seeking knowledge from higher power and not from things of the earth. And right now, what the power structure is really showing us is this trap that they're setting, right? And it's something that many of us are already free from. Like spiritually, we've freed ourselves, right? And so that's part of that activation now. And like what I was saying about the plans and following through with the plans and the vision, but like now it's time for us to really connect out. And so it's like, you know, I was even saying in the reading about calling these people out, like you're going to see people posting about the Olympics, man. Like, and I mean, the ridiculous things that some of these politicians and some of the policies and stuff that they're trying to push, right? And like, I mean, yeah, we're going to see it, right? And part of it is that we are there to offset some of that, right? So yeah, Eight of Swords is really about that passage, moving that like through that passage, right? And so, yeah, don't let the bombardment and the imagery and the confusion and the stirring of the pot, and like I said, to prevent you from moving forward, right? Prevent you from moving through that, right? But it's the swords are of the mind, right? So we do have to address the thinking that's there, and that can only be done through the spiritual practice in many ways, right? And I mean, this is what the readings and everything is kind of there for, right? Super important. So yeah, like that's, you know, we got to kind of keep in that steady form, I guess, right? But yet, you know, with the heart and the mind aligned and an open heart, right? And to move forward into this world and to sort of see how the exciting part and the positive part, like this star, the hopeful part, is so much more present than this dark thing that they keep trying to project onto us. Okay, that's all for tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed. So hit that like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Take care, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.